Hi, I'm Starny and I have ADHD. Today I want to talk about my most recent hyperfixation. Now, considering the thumbnail of this video, it will probably come as no surprise to you that my most recent hyperfixation has been Scott Pilgrim. But like, what even is a hyperfixation? And what does it mean when I'm hyperfixating? Let's take a step back, shall we? And don't you worry, I will be talking about Scott Pilgrim soon enough. So as a kid, I was always obsessed with one thing or another. Looking back, my very first hyperfixation was Sonic the Hedgehog. I was about 4 years old when I saw Sonic X on TV for the first time, and I was instantly sold. I needed everything Sonic. I had Sonic games, Sonic sandals, a Sonic tent, a Sonic balloon, Sonic socks, literally everything you could think of. Now, as a kid, I of course had no idea what a hyperfixation even was. All I knew was that I liked Sonic the Hedgehog way too much. This hyperfixation lasted many years until I was like 11 years old. And while the hyperfixation eventually faded out, my love for Sonic never died. I still freaking love this guy and this franchise to bits. A hyperfixation to me personally basically means that I'm so obsessed with something that I have trouble thinking about anything else. That might sound concerning, and to be honest, yeah, sometimes it can really get in the way of things. But these hyperfixations also give me a lot of happiness. Like making art, writing fanfics, collecting merchandise. It can give me so many extreme feelings of joy that I can't really compare to anything else. I guess you could say it comes with both pros and cons. So Sonic the Hedgehog was my first hyperfixation, but it was definitely not the last. Heck, one glance at my YouTube channel will tell you enough about that. Now, my close friends will know that my 2023 has had lots of ups and downs. The past few months have been especially hard, as I've been dealing with many difficult things all at once. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, things have been really tough for me recently, and I found myself in a pretty dark place. Whether it was depression or burnout, I'm not entirely sure, but I didn't feel like myself anymore. But then, there it was, the light at the end of the tunnel. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off launched on Netflix and I decided to check it out. And well, things quickly got out of hand and it's all his fault. This loser emo boy. It has been a while since I've had a really big hyperfixation like this. Especially with a franchise that's completely new to me. This might sound extreme, but I genuinely think that Scott Pilgrim Takes Off got me out of a really dark place. It picked me up from the ground and now I'm walking again. And it's small steps, but I'm getting there. It's always I can fix him, but he actually fixed me. So let's dig into the show and why I enjoyed it so much. By the way, quick mention that I will be talking about spoilers. So this show just has this certain vibe to it that jams super well with me. Just to be clear, I had never seen anything from this entire franchise before this point. I had heard about it here and there and I knew about the premise, but that's about it really. Takes Off seemed very visually pleasing to me and I could really use some distraction, so that's why I decided to watch it. And well, I almost instantly fell in love with this colorful world and cast of characters. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off to me is the epitome of eye candy. One thing I really appreciate about this show is how things just happen, without much explanation. For example, you've got this entire fight scene with Lucas Lee and the paparazzi. The first time I watched this, I was in the living room and my boyfriend walked by and he was like, "What the heck are you watching?" But then he kept staring and he got invested. He sat next to me and just watched along. Nothing needed to be explained, the scene was just so visually pleasing and absurd and that was all that mattered. Another example of this is how vegans are really strong in this universe. That's just the way it is. It's so silly and nonsensical, but that's exactly what I love about it so much. This world seems like it has endless possibilities, and that's what makes it so fun to me. Everything about it is so odd and intriguing, and yet nothing feels out of place at the same time. Also, I just want to mention that I love the LGBTQ representation in the show. It's done so well and it makes me really happy. The episode with Todd and Wallace was one of my favorites, it was so funny. And Roxy was treated so much better here as well. And ooh, the fight scene between Gideon and Matthew in episode 2, that scene lives in my head rent-free. I keep rewatching it because it's just so good. The way they subvert your expectations during this entire episode is honestly insane to me. Like, as someone who was new to this franchise, I had very limited expectations. All I knew was that Gideon is always the big final boss. So I was expecting him to win at any moment. Even at the very end, I was like, well, he's gonna do something crazy to win, right? But then Matthew actually won and I was kind of shook. I didn't expect the show to go in that direction at all. I feel like that's the moment the show really clicked with me, because I was just so impressed with that entire scene. Also, I love the little gag that apparently Matthew was always really strong, he just didn't have the self-confidence. Like, I feel ya, sweetie. Julie and Gideon becoming a couple is so out of nowhere, but it also makes so much sense. They're both so toxic and their characters play off of each other so well. It's a bit like a Bonnie and Clyde situation. It's so good, but it's also really funny at the same time. The entire show is just done so exceptionally well. Even the ending is genius in my opinion. It somehow manages to be a sequel and an alternative take at the same time. I've heard fans say that this show feels like a true ending of the franchise, and I couldn't agree more. All the evil exes get fleshed out so much more, and I am here for it. And I love how at the end of the show everyone is so much friendlier towards each other. Like in the very last episode during the theater scene, you've got the evil exes rooting for Scott and Ramona to kiss. And it's just like, wow, these characters truly have gone through so much development. It seemed to me like they're kind of starting to become this big friend group, and I love to see it. And my gosh, I have not even properly talked about the art direction. I want to eat this art style and inject it into my veins. It is amazing. The crunchy line art, the popping colors, the animation, the character designs, everything about it is just, amazing. And with how good the art direction is on this show, I feel like it's only natural that as an artist I immediately wanted to try and draw on the show's art style. And well, I'm really proud of my results so far. The way this show does art has inspired me so much, and it kind of feels like I've had an art growth spurt, if that makes any sense. It's just something about this art style that really clicks with me, and it makes the overall drawing process so much more fun. I kinda went from an artist burnout to an outburst of creativity, and that means so much to me. Okay, very quick interruption. Please take a good look at this silly boy. Yes, please look at him. A little longer. Okay, that's good enough. So when I have a hyperfixation, I have to share it with the world. And so I quickly found my way into the Scott Pilgrim fandom. And I've met so many fun, friendly new people already. I even created a Discord server to talk about my favorite emo boy. Oh, and I also started cosplaying again. To be honest, the past few months I felt very lonely, and I can't emphasize enough how much these new connections have helped me. My social battery has recharged and I've become more talkative. And all of a sudden I just have all this energy and motivation for making art again. Like, I've already made fan art of the show and I plan on making much more. Heck, this video existing is already enough proof of how much this hyperfixation means to me. My lack of energy made me unable to make proper content for a long time, but right now I just can't wait to finish this video and share it online. I have always thought of my silly hyperfixations as cringe, and nothing more than that. Which, I mean, yeah, it is cringe as f***. But to see how my hyperfixation can have such a positive impact on me, I've never really seen it in this light before, and it's nice. I had genuinely forgotten what it was like to love being creative. In recent years, creating art has become more of a job to me than an actual hobby, and that made it increasingly harder for me to enjoy creating stuff. But Scott Pilgrim Takes Off helped me remember what it's like to enjoy making art. This show has motivated me more than any piece of media has done before. And I feel like no matter how long this hyperfixation is going to stay with me, I will always look back at it extremely fondly for picking me up from the ground when I most needed it. And thank you, Matthew Patel. Hey, this is the end of the video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I make videos about whatever is on my mind, and I hope you enjoyed me rambling about my newest obsession. Thanks so much for watching to the end. I put a lot of time and effort into these videos, and it means the world to me that people actually watch my stuff. So thanks a lot. Bye bye!